All right, welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience in the small business world, and come out the other side willing to share those skills and experiences with us. Hopefully, we can run our businesses more effectively. Thank you for being here. First of all, anyone that shares some time with myself, shares some time with the audience, it's very generous of you to come in and tell us about yourself and what you do, and hopefully we can apply some of that perspective and experience to what we do on a daily basis. Thank you. It's very nice. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Again, thanks for having me, Bailey. I'm excited to be here. So, I'm Coach Kristin. That's how I'm known around the world, but Kristin Paintal is my name. I am a running coach and a certified personal trainer. And so, basically, what I provide is a service to those in the running community who may or may not feel like they are meant to be here. So, let me back up and explain what that means. I think that in my running tenure, which I got into running in high school through the fact that it was a part of another sport. I was in field hockey, I did track, so running was a part of the conditioning. But then in college, I actually got really excited about the idea of long distance running, and over time did a few half marathons and did a marathon. I made all the classic first timer mistakes, went out too fast, wasn't appropriately fueled, dressed too warm, and didn't really have a great experience and swore that I would never do a marathon ever again. And it was actually years later that I did a second marathon and appropriately trained, was confident in myself, and had a great day. And from there, I got bit by the bug. And I've now completed 116 marathons and ultras, my longest distance being a 50 miler. And now I've moved into the space of triathlons and I'm training for an Ironman. So, in this world of running, in this world of athleticism, while I think it's over time, when I did my first marathon in 2005 to now, I think it's become much more inclusive in terms of different colors, different sizes, different shapes, different abilities. But what I still see as being the kind of the marker of success is being fast and first. And that's just simply not true for so many of us. I've never had a race director come up to me and say, your race didn't count because you didn't come in first. If anything, I would like to argue that being the person that is taking the longer amount of time to do the race, 7, 8 miles for a marathon, for example, 4 hours for a half marathon, that's where the real grit comes in because you're out there doing the work while the confetti is gone, the spectators have left, and the winners have gotten their prize. They've gone home. They're probably already showered and napping, and you're still out there on the course doing the hard thing. And so that's what really my business supports. It supports the quote back of the Packers. It supports the people who don't feel qualified to call themselves a runner or a marathoner or half marathoner because they have not lived up to this phantom standard of being first and fast. So, what I like to offer people is quality training that focuses on endurance, focuses on stamina, keeps the joy and the love of the sport, and remaining injury free. Now, with those pieces of the puzzle, sometimes speed is a byproduct. Sometimes people naturally get faster, but I never approach any athlete from the lens of picking up speed unless they truly want to. Yeah, that's a little bit of what I do. And I add in the personal training so that we can start to build strength and flexibility of the muscle group to then further support the idea of endurance and staying injury free. And so I work with people ages 14, 70 plus. I work with people in New York City and virtually in a variety of fashions. And it's really to help people self identify that they deserve to call themselves an athlete and a runner because they're doing the hard thing.
Sure. Do you find yourself working with, like myself, I'm an ex-athlete, right? Like I played basketball at a high level for a long time. I've never done a marathon. I did a half marathon,
Nice.
and I gritted it out, and I was pretty fast. My body was ready for it, but I have like the prototypical basketball injuries, the knees and ankles, and so just my body being able to produce some power got me through that, but I did not have a good time. So do you find yourself working with washed up athletes like myself, or do you find yourself working with like normal people that have really kind of applied themselves physically at the age that they're at for the first time in a long time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have kind of a mixed bag of
Oh,
both.
really?
So I have people who used to be athletes or are currently in athletics, but they're struggling in that sport, and they understand that conditioning and cross training is going to help support them in getting better prepared to whatever the discipline is, gymnastics, soccer, all of those things. And then I have people that we lovingly called amateur athletes. These are folks who, for some reason, just decided one day to get out there and do it, and maybe never did athleticism before. They found it later in life. Some of my older athletes, in terms of age, when I say older athletes, they applied for a race and got in New York City. Obviously, the kind of the big one we have is the New York City Marathon, and there's a lottery. And for whatever reason, they throw their hat in the ring, they make a New Year's resolution, they, get inspired by being a spectator the year prior. And then they get in, and it's like, well, what now? So I work with people from both mindsets. And the reason I say mindset is because when you do come from an athletic world, there is a different way that you approach sport, in my opinion. You already understand the notion of like individuality, yet collaboration. You need to be a strong link for yourself and also a part of the team. You need to be willing to be coached and also advocate because you are the best one to understand your body and what it needs. So that mindset is kind of already there, and I can push athletes in a different way when it comes to their workouts and what their bodies can manage in terms of change and growth. Sure. And then you have folks who are coming in with truly a blank slate and really don't understand the world of sport, let alone like the world of running as a particular sport. And it's really fun to work with both. And what I really love seeing is the confidence that comes out from people and how they can then see the parallels of sport in other parts of your life, right? Like how relationships improve personally, how they feel better about themselves, how they approach other aspects of their life when they start to build that athletic mindset. But it really just depends on who approaches me or how people find me or how I find them and what kind of history they have. So if you are as you said, washed up athlete and you have past ailments.
It's my own term. That's not me calling anybody else a washed up athlete. I self-identify.
I get it. It makes sense.
I am.
But yeah.
My joints are getting old quickly, and it's been this season of my life to improve those things. It happens. You know what I mean? We stop paying attention to those things. Got hurt in college and got a bad relationship with feeling hurt and achy all the time, and tried to not. And I never wanted to heal those things athletically or strength or endurance wise until this kind of season of my life. Like as my kids are getting older and they're getting back into sports, and I want to be able to move around when I'm 50. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yes.
Those things compound if you let them. And I've been dealing with the same injuries for like 15 years. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes those can be remedied, or at least they can be reduced. They might not necessarily be able to be eliminated. That's just sometimes how injuries work. But you bring up a good point that like what I really love about athleticism is that it complements us being able to have an active lifestyle. And active could be you're 80 years old, still independently living, putting a 10-pound can of olive oil on the top shelf, right? You're able to get down on the floor to pick up something that you've dropped. And so that's a little bit of the long game that I'm playing with. And that's why I want to be smart and strategic with my athletes, because I want that to also be a parallel in their life, and they don't have to give that up. It can live in partnership.
Sure, absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about the business side. So how did you kind of convert this into like, okay, this is a real thing for me. I need to grab some clients. I need to really figure this thing out. Like, what was that journey like?
Yeah, it's very untraditional, I would say. So in this marathon journey, I became a marathon pacer, which you are given a particular finish time of the course, and you either do it by even effort or even split, and you corral the people around you and say, if you follow with me, I'll get you to the finish line at this time. And that's a really powerful human experience to have. It's one of my most profound things that I've ever done. I've paced 23 marathons. You learn a lot about people. You coach them along the way. You help them get through the proverbial wall of mile 18. And for some of these folks, I've become friends with them. And so that is what kind of instilled in me this idea that I am a coach. And then I became a formalized coach with a run group in New York City and had been coaching since 2019. Okay. So in 2022, a group of athletes who I knew just from being involved in the community were training for the New York City Marathon and needed a coach that could focus on 12 plus minute milers.
Oh, nice.
And so my business kind of formed in filling a need that people raised their hand and said that they wanted to be filled. They needed a coach. And so I was not ready in that time to make the full shift. So I was coaching people on the side ad hoc for fun. And then my former life of being an administrator was starting to become a little not joyous. It was becoming more challenging than positive. And so I made the decision to say, I'm going to step away from this and I'm going to try out this coaching thing, which fills my cup and gives me joy and a sense of satisfaction, and see what comes of it. And so in my first session, when I first launched my business in June of 2024, I was doing a long run series and I had like 15 clients right off the bat because this cluster said, we need you. And so that's how I formed the business. From there, it's grown where I have like three main arms of the business. The long run series, which is a year long every Saturday program that's in person. Virtual training where people are provided a plan, we check in, we go over stats, and then in person individualized coaching. And that can be virtually on the phone or it could be in person side by side. And where it's grown in the last year, like I mentioned in the beginning, is adding in that personal training piece. So I became certified in the past year. So that's how it kind of started, just from filling a need in the community, which further affirms that there is a larger need for the kind of services I offer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It highly affirms it because I would seriously doubt, and maybe there's somebody out there. I always get proven wrong by these things. I speak in kind of absolutes, and then somebody on the podcast will text me and be like, "Yeah, actually, I did that too." But not a lot of people are starting off with 15 clients. The amount of data that you can accumulate with people that are interested in your service and kind of fleshing that service out, and what is this whole structure of this going to look like even though the running side and the physical side is kind of second language to you, navigating your clients and how to set expectations for them and keeping people on board and keeping people excited and all that stimulus that goes into people being your clients is kind of a different thing. So in your words, what's been the most difficult part? What have kind of been the obstacles for you in your business, and how have you been able to overcome those things?
That's a really great question. I don't think I'm unique in the difficulties in the fact that I am HR, I am CEO, founder, I'm social media manager, I am brand ambassador, I am marketer, all of the pieces of the puzzle, which is honestly in equal measure exciting, thrilling, keeps me engaged, in equal measure sometimes exhausting and a little bit more laborious than I would want it to be. And so I would say one of the challenges of being a business owner is the freedom and flexibility that you can quite literally do whatever you want, as long as you're not, of course, violating any law. And I have a code of ethics that I follow in being certified and insured. And so I think one of the ways that I navigated that is I'm very lucky to have a partner, a personal partner, who has a very even mind and he's a very good sounding board to me. And so in decisions that are tough, I do lean on him and talk it out and say, my left brain is saying this, my right brain is saying that, help me decide. And so what I would say is, I don't know if you're asking this, but I'm giving it that the advice to that is like, it is very easy to open that circle up and take advice from anybody. But I would advocate to keep that circle very small to maybe 2 or 3 trusted quote advisors who you turn to. And when they give you this sound advice, you also lean on it, sleep on it, and take it and move it forward. And so he's been able to help me navigate some of the emotion because I am so involved in my athletes. I know them personally. And that's the boundary that I've learned I need to keep. At the end of the day, they are employing me to provide them a service. They are not my best friend. And so I've had to make some hard decisions in the beginning of what I'm willing to offer of myself and where I need to then step back and say I cannot. And that's as simple as, for example, we just had a huge half marathon in New York City. I was out there cheering all of them on. I had 13 athletes doing the half marathon. They went to brunch. I went home because they deserve to have that community and that space where they can kind of take their hat off, let their hair down, share things, maybe talk about their coaching, maybe not, in the absence of me. And then that also then protects my time and protects the pouring out of my cup to them. So that's been interesting to navigate. And I also think what's interesting to navigate is my business started small with a cluster of people who were really well friended already.
Right.
And so what I've been blessed with is all of my business so far has been referrals, and them bringing friends to me. There have been some people who have found me on the internet, and I do a consult call. We see if we're a good match, and then we move forward together. And so I would say what's also really hard to navigate as a business owner is being confident in who you're choosing to do business with, because that is when you are small and you're building a name, how they present in the community is a reflection on your business. And it also could be a reflection on how much emotion and attention and time you're spending on them. And I've been wildly blessed that every client I work with, I absolutely adore, I trust, I respect, I like. I really appreciate what they have taught me. And I now, almost 2 years in, I do feel confident now that if someone wanted my services and I felt like it wasn't a match, I have a network where I can refer them to other people because I do want to protect that integrity of the community that I've built.
Yeah, absolutely. I commend you on that. The willingness to say yes to things that are slightly outside of your scope early on plagues a lot of business owners. Usually because they need the money, they need the revenue, they need the volume. Like maybe not even um, like bank account wise, but just for their own measure of success. And it's a difficult thing to navigate when it comes to having to say no to opportunities that don't necessarily fit the direction that you're trying to take your business. I would also commend you on another thing, and this is a little bit of an assumption because we didn't really talk about this, but I know you get super emotionally attached to the goals that when people come to you and they tell you, here's when I'm running, here's what I want to do. I know that those kind of become your goals too. You become very attached to those things. That was something that I went through, and um, just like my little brother is a super high level athlete, college football player, all those things. And so, me coming out of the basketball space, I was like the perfect age to be able to coach all of their basketball stuff. And I did the same thing. Like their age group, I got super emotionally attached to whether we won or lost. And we won a lot. And everybody was super bought in about it. And that community that I had was like something I would never, ever, ever give away. But those things sat with me. Like when kids didn't take it seriously or they didn't care if they lost or it was no big deal to them, and I'm sitting there looking at these people like, you don't understand, these are the best days of your life. These are the opportunities that you'll never get back. You'll look back at this one day and go, wow, I should have taken this so seriously, because I did the exact same thing. Like I played uh, basketball for 15 years, and if I could go back and do it all again, 99% of it I would do the same way, because I was very intense about that sport. That was who I was. That was my identity. You know what I mean? So being able to identify with the goals of your clients and being able to coach them along the way while still keeping an even keel, still focusing on your own goals. I know it's difficult to do. I know it's difficult to navigate. So I commend you on those things, and I know that's probably something you're continuing to explore as you continue to kind of grow your network, is how to keep a level head when maybe people are progressing faster or not progressing as quickly as they would like. It's a difficult thing to navigate. But where do you go from here? What are your goals from here? And if people want to work with you, how do they find you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, how do they find me? So, One Foot Forward Coaching, is the official business is One Foot Forward Fitness Coaching, because when I started the business, I knew I wanted to bring in strength training and conditioning. So, named it that
It's
way.
kind
But
of non-negotiable, and people don't equate like the long distance running to that stuff. But like, wait till your knees feel like mine. You'll realize that the mobility side of that and the strength training is like as important as practicing the run.
It is. It is. And it's if people generally enjoy strength training, it's a non-issue. But if it's not something you enjoy, I get it. It is hard to motivate yourself to work the muscle groups, to warm them up, to cool them down appropriately. But that's what keeps us standing upright, decades to come. So yeah, 1 Foot Forward Coaching, website, LinkedIn, Instagram is like my main social media platform. It pushes everything to Facebook. And then I think maybe we can, share my email, Coach Kristin at 1footforwardcoaching.com, my phone number. And so people can reach out to me in any of those ways. And what I always like to do is hop on a call, 30 minutes, it's free, to learn about them. What excites them? Why do they want to come forward? What are they looking for in a coach? Because it's not an assumption. The thing is of being a coach is that I do believe very strongly in there being a fit, because that will help us have a shared language, shared vision, and moving forward together. And so there have been times where I've consulted with folks, and based upon their goals and what they want to do, I've said, listen, I have a coach that I work with that I think you would be really well matched with, given that you want to, for example, break a 4-hour marathon. That's not really my
Yeah.
main goal for working with athletes. So that's how they can find me. And basically what to grow from here, it's really serving more of my community. And community is in New York City and abroad. I've got some clients in Upper New York. I've got some clients in Virginia. And so I'd like to expand the service offerings that I have. Again, it's the long runs on Saturdays, it's individualized coaching, and it's training plans. I see those three areas growing to be bigger and bigger. And then long-term lofty goal of the business is I've really one of the things I love about New York City is just the layers of history as you go back even just 1 decade. And so my Saturday group will tell you that it's not just a long run. There's information that they get about athleticism before the long run, but all of the courses and routes that I built are safe. That's always a number one priority. And we're going somewhere where you're going to learn. So our fuel break is going to be next to this monument. And did you know that this monument was here because of X, Y, and Z? So that's a little bit of practice for launching kind of like a runner tourism group where you come to New York City or you have friends coming and you don't know what to do. Go on a 4-mile run with me. Every mile we stop at a historic spot and you learn more about our great city of New York. And then long, long down the road, I would love to create a back of the pack race series where the back of the packers are the front. And you being a 12 plus minute miler puts you the first to get to the aid stations, the possibility of being the winner of the race. There's a lot that's going to have to go into that in terms of running is not an exclusionary sport. So
Yeah. Need a little
how do I
handicap
communicate?
system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do we say to the 8 minute milers, like, hey, this
Yeah.
isn't for you? I think if
Yeah.
we start
Or
kind
you're
of like,
starting 2 hours after some of these, or
yeah,
you're starting an hour and a half after some of these people. I actually
yeah,
think that you would get some. I actually think that you would get some competitive juices flowing for a lot of those people. Like, take your average mile time and try to get everybody to the end at the same time. Like, and then you kind of just see who has the best day. Like, I could get behind that.
that's a great, I hadn't
It's like
thought
a
of
golf
that.
tournament. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like every
Yeah.
every local golf tournament is played based off handicaps. The really good guys go last, and the guys that aren't as good start. And you kind of get a handicap system. And it's the goal is to get you all as close together at the very end of all said and done. Like you could do that, especially people that are using like I don't know what like wearable workout stuff that you subscribe to, but like I know Strava makes really good stuff. Like like, hey, you have to have 100 miles worth of data to be included. And as long as you have 100 miles worth of data and we can take your average mile time, we know when to start you. And then you just kind of shotgun start people in waves. And you could do that. That's very possible.
Ah, that's exciting. Yeah. But it's really again to the point of where we started off in the beginning that like the back of the Packers quote the 12 plus minute milers, they're out there getting it done when all the fanfare is gone, and I'd like to create a race series where the fanfare is for them. And I think that's a way for the running community to become really inclusive, and to kind of build that confidence and that support. And I think if it starts like it's just a quote mom and pop, backyard type of race series and it grows slowly from just word of mouth, I think we can get it there. So that's like longer term. Obviously, I'd have to get certified as a race director and all these other things. So that's like maybe a 5 to 10 year plan.
Sure. You could do it. I think that
Yeah.
lofty goals are important. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Aspiring to do more and be great, it fuels so much of what you're already doing on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean? Like that fuel, maybe you don't need it. Maybe you're a morning person. Maybe you wake up ready to run, your Achilles feels great and your meniscus is ready to move around, and not the case for me. But I going back to what you were talking about with your coaching fit, right? I had a terrible relationship with one of the best coaches in college basketball, right? Like, not of my words either. Like, the college basketball community will tell you that this guy's one of the guys. Like, he's way up there. We had a bad relationship. It was a bad fit. It was mostly my fault. I was stubborn. I was super athletic, and I was really good at my thing. And my cup was very full, and I did not want to play a role and take a back seat to the action that somebody else was drawing up on the floor. I didn't like that. So I operated slightly outside of my guidelines, and I made a lot of good things happen, but it took us out of the rhythm that my coach
Mhm.
wanted me to be in. And there's a fit to that. And there's
Mhm.
a fit to the energy that you bring, and there's a fit to the goals and the value that they bring to your life, and your clients absorb some of that. I believe that there's some osmosis there with, the ability to have a direction and a goal, and the days where you don't have those things, I believe that you're on the way out. It's just kind of the harsh reality of those things. But I commend you on the progress that you've made. It is hard to get people excited to do something that humans genuinely don't get excited to do, and to build a community of that, and to make people excited about it, and to continue to push yourself is something that is, I hope people are able to apply to their own businesses. The people that are listening, is that there's you have this innate culture, right? This driven, hardworking, one direction moving forward, very measurable goals community. And I believe that that is possible for a lot of people in a lot of different industries that don't necessarily have that right now. So if you're listening to this, I hope that that is something that you can take away, is that goals are powerful, and there's ways to create goals that can do a lot for you, that are measurable, that are specific, that are exciting. Like, those are the things that I think people miss out a lot on. Is like, yes, like the 6 a.m.s run are not fun. The hills at 5 o'clock in the morning is not great. Like, warm up and cool down was one of the worst parts for me,
Yeah.
especially. Um, but I know what it feels like to lift a trophy, and I know what it feels like to win. And the beautiful thing about running is your win is not the same as someone else's win, right?
Mhm.
Your completion, your medal on the wall, that feeling there. And there may be no tape for you to run through. There may be no crowd cheering you on at the finish line, because um, you run at a different pace than the people that have already been there. But it doesn't matter. It's a challenge within itself, and it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to invest in yourself in a way where you can see specific, measurable things happen. So I commend you on this community that you've made. I'll be in New York in a couple of times over the next year. I'll come out there and hang out with you or run a little. Um,
Please.
yeah, you'll see me in double knee braces and an ankle
That's okay.
bracelet. That's my running reality of these days. But no, I'm excited to have met you. I think that what you're doing is really, really cool. And I hope that you guys that are listening, um, you know, please reach out and,
Yes.
set some goals for yourself. You can do some cool stuff. If you haven't run in a long time, I promise, if you can't remember the last time you ran full speed, especially, we were having a conversation about that. There's only a small percentage of people after high school that ever run full speed again.
Mhm.
And if you're one of those people, man, find this community for yourself. Find a coach. Find someone that makes this exciting for you, because I promise it does wonders in your life, your personal life, your professional life, your relationship with yourself is so important. So, but thank you for being a guest on the podcast. I feel our time spent together is very pleasant. And if you have anything to leave the audience with, I would love for you to give us the last word. But as far as what I have, that has burned the ship for me, and for you guys listening, please bet on yourself. You will always be surprised at what you're capable of.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And find something, it might take some time. Try out some different sports, try out some different classes, and find something that you like and give it some time. But you're investing in your health and you've got one body. It should be the greatest investment of your life.
Absolutely, I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. All right,
Hmm.
until next time, burn the ship.